try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. Looking for change, looking for pain, pulling a mob, pushing a train. I'll never stop, stick to a lane, pick up the pieces and go rearrange. I'll be the best above all the rest, put me to the test. Expect nothing less, your check is on chest, what's happening next? He got the venom, a tangible weapon, no coming in second. This life is a lesson, he got a new engine from pain, it's a blessing. New focus, no guessing, just hold an obsession, all in his possession. You got their attention, I'll leave an impression and take your redemption. Just kill, no discretion, your mind is a weapon. 11-11, it's time for progression.
G'day everyone, welcome back. How are we all? It's Starseeds and Patriots Down Under, and we're back tonight with a very beautiful special guest. Bob, how are you, mate?
I'll be very well, thank you, Chris, and I hope everyone out there in the internet land is doing well as well, and hope the love and the peace is around them.
Yeah, mate, I know what you're saying. It's been a bit of a ride for the last few days with all these, actually I should say the last couple of weeks, with all these energies coming in from this, what we call it, the retrograde that we were going through just recently. It's, how have you been coping with it, mate? I know myself, I've been up and down and inside out and upside down.
I'll certainly say it has definitely hit me for a good six a few times. There's been days that I'll get up and thinking, my God, did I even go to bed? Lots and lots of sleeping. Even in some ways gone off certain foods, but just don't miss it. Like there's some days I'd wake up, lots and lots of mind fog, can't even sort of face the day, as it were. Now slowly getting out of it and feeling a lot better. But one thing I will say is the messages and what I've been getting from Spirit, absolutely through the roof now that we're out of the retrograde.
Yeah, it's pretty clear. I can say that. It's getting clearer. Like myself, for some of the things that I've been going through, like I've had hazy vision on the outside of my peripheral vision, slightly tunneled, like, if you know what I mean, like there's like a cloud around the outside of my peripheral vision. I've had many muscle aches and pains. Like I'd go to bed feeling absolutely fine, but you wake up feeling like you've just been in battle or run a marathon. You have no explanation for why for it.
I'm
pain up the side of my head, going beside the eyes as well. It's been a bit of a pressure build up here and there, but coming since yesterday, yesterday was the worst of it for me because I was actually suffering a lot of bad pain around the side of my head and up around here and going into the backs of my left and my right eye. But woke up this morning, it wasn't even the pain, didn't even feel like it had even existed, let alone registered that it was there. Any sort of residual pain, like it was gone.
Right. Yeah. So what's actually happening there? Spirit are actually opening you up. You certainly, your third eye, you'd feel like a stretching right across the top of your forehead. Now above your ears, etc., you've got a couple of bodily meridians, which is why when you get any Reiki healing and that sort of thing, the healer will actually go either put her hands over your ears where the actual fingertips come further up, and so you're actually activating those meridians around the back of your head. Of course, that's where your pineal gland is. However, it's also your normal vision that is there.
Yes. Visual cortex. Yes.
So, like, in order to start seeing auras, you do start to experience haziness in your eyesight. And folks, when anyone can read an aura, so you don't have to be some sort of amazing guru or yogi that's studied the psychic arts for hundreds of years in order to see them. The biggest thing I can say, folks, is when you are really young and you're in school, you're taught sit on the mat, sit up straight, focus, look, focus, focus, focus. The real art to seeing auras is to relax. Now, for those who have got to the point where they're really, really tired, you're drunk, they've found a few of the nature's wonders, like a bit of the old wacky weed, or a few of the magic mushrooms, whatever your gig is.
Yep.
It relaxes you right out. Now,
Yeah.
when you start to see auras, initially you'll see like a haziness, and if you just relax a little bit more, that haziness will start to turn into like a blue haziness around, your whatever you're looking at, the person. And if you relax just that little bit more, suddenly, boom, in comes the full aura, and you can see
Spectrum.
Yeah, you can actually see everything that is going on with that person, and they can't lie because you're seeing the soul. The soul cannot lie, and I'll tell you what: if you know how to read the colors and really look, you can see some absolutely fantastic stuff in an aura. And I tell you, people watching, this is something that I used to do. Like you go to a cafe and you just have your coffee and just zone out, and you'd watch, especially like the young couples. You can see the love because it shows up as pink in the aura, and you can actually really see like one person will be really loving the other one, but the other one could be like, nah, don't want to borrow this fella. And you almost sort of feel like getting up and going, hey mate, don't bother, you're wasting your time. It is actually that clear cut, and you can see it.
Wow.
But it's really good until you see your first one without an aura. Now, someone that doesn't have an aura is going to pass within the next 3 hours, or whenever their aura collapsed. You've generally got like 3 hours before that's it. The avatar will pass, and that is freaky.
Wow.
So if you ever go onto an aircraft and at an airport and you see people with no auras, about half turn and bugger off because good chance that aircraft won't make it.
Ooh, that's a bit about Final Destination going on there. Jesus.
Yeah, roger that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I was going to ask in relation to being able to see auras like that. Would that be considered as such? Even though we're coming into this, would that be considered as a natural state of our eyesight that we used to have in our say? Okay, I was going to say that. Yeah, being able to see naturally auras would be a natural way of being able to live very closely with one another and be definitely connected in such a way that we haven't been connected before, because those auras, those colors, and those fields also give off frequency as well, wouldn't they?
Yes, they do. And so if the best way to describe it is a natural way in which your body can truly express itself. Now, when you actually start seeing auras and getting a little bit of experience with them, you look for certain signs. Now, if someone tells you a lie, for argument's sake, over the right eye will turn really what looks like an angry red. So, and what it is because the soul itself can't lie, but the avatar can, or the mind can. So what you're actually seeing is your own soul disapproving of the lie, and hence why it comes over the right hand side, because the right hand side is the physical side. If you have
left and right brain, yes.
Yeah, so if you have things like problems, say with your heart or your kidneys or anything like that, when you look at the aura, it's not generally bright or sparkly. In that area, you'll see like a grey patch or a black patch. So now you know
Right.
that this person has heart trouble, or if say they've recently broken up, like with a partner, or they've been heavily betrayed, or something like that, you'll end up with a lot of dark colours in and around the heart. And this is why your heart hurts, because the energy that is actually sitting in front of your heart chakra, you are feeling it. And
Wow. That's
yeah,
interesting. Wow. Because I didn't know this. That's actually very fascinating.
so like,
I'm going to have
okay,
to learn more of this.
yeah, well, I mean, like, are you actually aware that, like, when you get very intimate with someone, that yeah, and you make love, that part of your soul actually stays with that person,
Yes.
which is why
Yes.
when you go back through your feelings and whatnot, you can automatically remember the very first time you kissed that person, hug them,
Mm,
you made love to
yes.
them, where, everything like that. Why? Because it's now, or that person is now part of you. So when you two
Yes.
separate, that is why we feel the pain that we do, because we actually
Yes.
have part of us that has now been torn away from you and is now with that
That's right.
person.
That's right. Yes.
And
I was actually going to ask. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, yeah,
I'm
I
sorry.
was going to say that's also why a lot of workers in the sexual field have a lot of mental issues, because they've had
Yes.
so many partners, they don't actually realize a little bit of each of those people sit with them and causes, yeah,
Yes.
huge issues.
Yes. So that would be like due to the fact, like, um, would this be correct in my conclusion with the factor of, let's say, penetration as such?
Yep,
During the action of penetration as such, there is the frequency encoded, so to speak, that's actually passed over between both entities.
correct.
Um,
Yep.
would it be true also in the sense that because I don't know where I heard this, but I'd like to ask if this is true or not. Is it also a factor that, depending on the actual experience or traumas or negative energies or etc. that the other partner might be carrying, can a portion of that actually be carried over to you as well?
Yes, absolutely they
Yeah.
can. So,
And what's the time frame that this sort of thing can last for? Because I heard something about 7 years that each time that this sort of thing, like if you encounter an individual that has these sorts of traumas or pain as such, and you actually do get with them as such or hook up, does the pain, residual energy and frequency last for a period of 7 years, being that cycle, so to speak?
okay, the actual pain lasts your lifetime.
Lifetime.
It reduces, but it is always there,
Right.
because you have it now almost signed a contract, as it were, with that person.
With
So
a soul
part of
contract.
you
Yes.
will always be in their Akashic record. So no matter what happens,
Yes.
where they go, yeah, you'll always remember them. Where
Yeah.
so like when those people pass on and that sort of thing, it will still hurt, because
Yeah.
you've got part of them with you.
Yeah.
And
Always. Yes.
even though that, the physical experience is long gone, yeah, they will always remain. And it's also why, folks, we're straight out of the blue. You'll remember an ex-girlfriend or an ex-boyfriend, many, many moons later, for no reason, just boom,
Yeah.
out of the year. Well, something would have would have happened to that person, and or sometimes it's actually them where they've passed, and it's them actually coming back to you to say, "Hey, I've passed over, and here I am." And people
Wow.
don't actually realise what has happened.
Yeah. I had an incident like that about 4 years ago, where I'd actually only just hooked up with a mate of mine that I hadn't seen for about probably 25, 26 years. And good 25 years it was, and I caught up with his younger brother online. First of all, and then his younger brother came down to visit me and stayed for about a period of 4 days. And then I found out during that 4 days that in the time since him and I had hooked up, his older brother, who was my best mate, actually had moved back home and was living with his younger brother, who was down staying with me. Anyway, after the 4 days, he went back home. A period of 2 weeks went by, and I had this feeling of Stephen just coming into my head, and I just had these memories flooding back of Kings Road and Townsville, where I used to hang out with him, and some of the things we used to do and get up to, and just the funny stuff. Remembering him and I jumping around to the song "Jump Around" by House of Pain back in the day, sitting there body slamming off each other in the lounge room. Just funny stuff that you'd remember him by. And then, funnily enough, well, not funny, but later on that night, I got a phone call from his older brother saying that he'd passed that morning and he'd actually died in his sleep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, funnily enough, as you said, they come to you in memories like that and bring quirks or memories and funny times and moments, after they've passed over, back to you. And sometimes we just don't have that actual understanding of what it really means until after we get that phone call. But looking back on it now, I know full well that was actually him letting me know, hey man, I've passed. It's all right. I'm cool. I'm giving you these memories to remember me by. Now, they were already here and in here, even though he was still with us. But even after he passed, they were still here and still in here, and they always will be. But thanks for that actual clarification on that, because that really gives me solace knowing, even through my own near-death experience that I had when I was 14, where I was is where he's at.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, one thing a lot of people don't quite realise, when spirit actually start talking with you, they use your experiences, your vocabulary, in order to raise a point with you, because only you know what you've experienced, and so does spirit. So where they can actually take you back or show you a glimmer of a memory that happened in time, and whether it's a feeling, something tragic that has happened, whatever the case may be, it takes you back to that point, so either that particular person wants you to understand this point, or you're letting yourself down the wrong track. This is going to be the end result. So whether it's heartache, whatever the case may be, don't dismiss those random thoughts where whether you're sitting on the bed, you're asking, look, I need some help with this, the direction's not right, or should I take this new job, or should I go out with that guy, or whatever. Just ask, and your guides love to help you. And they will always see you through, because they think of your heart, not your mind, and it's through your heart that they talk to you. So if whatever you're doing is the best way to say it, your intentions are for good, you will always get an answer. It may not be straight away. However, your guides and whatnot are going to deliver that message. But however, they'll get it to you somewhere, some way. And it can be in some of the weirdest of places. I mean, the number of messages that I've had sitting on the toilet with my pants around my ankles, and suddenly, bang, and they come. They don't care. There's no privacy. To them, they're saying it all. But they've got that message to you. And this is how special it's just how special the connection you have with spirit is. That when the time is right, and generally it will be when you're alone, whether it's in the shower, sitting on your bedside before you go to bed, wherever, in the car at the traffic lights, bang, it'll pop in.
Always. I found for myself, especially in moments of silence, early morning is really good for me.
Yeah.
Like especially sitting in silence in the morning. Like I won't even put the TV on. I'll have maybe a couple of lamps on in the lounge room, low level light, and
Mm-hmm.
I might even chuck a candle on occasionally as well. Just for a little bit of extra glimmer.
Mm-hmm.
But just having that moment of silence at 4 a.m., 4:30 a.m. is just so peaceful, and I have no interference. Even my Wi-Fi is off. I don't have my router on,
Mm-hmm.
so there's no electromagnetic interference as well. And here comes the Bodie. He's come in to say hello.
You're loving the energy already.
Hello, little one. And I just find it really peaceful to be able to get those sorts of moments of inspiration and be uplifted, and I get those messages come through. They're just so crystal clear in early hours, just sitting in that time and space that you make for yourself. It's
Yeah.
like it might come to you, as you said, at the traffic lights, might come to you on the old Royal Dalton in the toilet. Either way, it comes to you, and there's you can't stop it. And when they come, it's a matter of acting upon that as well to a degree. Like if you're inspired by something that you've had come to you visually, write it down.
Yes.
Get a vision in your head, and then write it down and articulate it. And
Mm-hmm.
see yourself, see what's in your mind in an actual, verbal format that you've written down. Read it back over and go, wow, that's something that like I had this happen to me a couple of months ago. For example, like I actually woke up from a dream where I actually can see the format of this show coming together, and eventually I'll be working towards that where I'm going with that. I'm in the process of that now. Even just working with you now and having
Mm-hmm.
you on the show and working with all the other beautiful people that I'm working with as well. What I'm doing is building it up to that actual vision that I had. And what I did was when I came back, when I woke up from this dream and I had this vision, I sat there and I wrote out 5 pages. And by the time I finished writing it out, I had what looked like a format for a
Mm-hmm.
radio show, a
Yeah.
radio talkback visual show like online. And there's certain elements that I still haven't incorporated yet, and I will be doing that, but it's all written. My point is that if you don't get out what's up here and put it out there so that you can bring it into reality, how's it ever going to manifest?
Yeah. I mean, one of the
You got to
biggest,
act on these things.
one of the biggest mistakes many people make, and they overlook it so much, is dream. You have so much come to you in dream, and
Yeah,
so many
dreams.
people they do not write it down. Have
No,
a book or a piece of paper and pencil, whatever, by your bed. Now the real trick is, before you, like when you start to wake up, keep your eyes closed, and that is the
yes.
huge trick, because the second light hits your eyes, those memories gone.
Fate.
So
Yeah,
if you
gone.
keep
Yeah,
your eyes closed initially, and so what you're doing is you're actually now remembering your subconscious mind, and you're now bringing it forward into the conscious mind, and
yes.
and remember those main points. Then you can open your eyes, because now
Yeah.
it's here, it's in the conscious, and
Stored
then
in the conscious memory, exactly right.
and now you write it down, and always really important to date stamp it, and if you can, a time or when you wrote it down,
Yeah,
because the
yeah.
numbers for the time can be very pertinent as well, especially
Oh,
when you start
yes. Yeah.
getting woken up at 11:11, 12:12,
3:33.
1:1, that sort of thing, and you'll
Yeah.
consistently find that the time in which your messages are passed will be around those times generally, because it
Wow.
is
Yeah.
when your body is at its most relaxed. Um, Now, there's also another reason why you date stamp it. From the time that it is
Right.
shown to you to the time it actually manifests and comes into your life is called your lead time. So if you're given a warning, something like back off or yes, take that job, whatever the case is, okay, my lead time is 6
Don't
months,
give up.
3 months, 3 weeks, whatever that time frame is. So you've
Yeah.
got that amount of time to either change what you're going to do, or right, I need to, batten down the hatches, carry on with this horrible job. I know I've got 4.5 months left to go, and then boom, changes there. And trust me, folks, I've done this for many years, and it works so very, very well. And there is so much information that is given to you in your dreams, if only you write them down.
Oh gosh, absolutely. Yeah, I was actually going to say, if looks like little fella's got his mind made up. He wants to hop on the bench while we're talking. Hello, little fella. Come to say hello to everyone. Everyone, this is Bodie. This is my little mate. This is my little brother, my little buddy. This is Bodie, everyone. Bodie, this is the world. Say hello. He's checking out the microphone.
Yeah,
I was going to say, that's actually a perfect. He wants my feathers that are on here. You play with them over here. There you go, mate. There he goes. I was going to say that's actually a perfect segue point, and I was going to say, dreams, like moving from dreams as well into out of body experiences, and the spiritual aspect and things that can really come to you through out of body experiences, especially. I've found very liberating, especially when it comes to actually reading into not only where you're heading now, but where have you been in your past? Because in order to know your future, one must know their past. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
What could you possibly touch on with out of body experiences, or from the dream state and alpha brainwave state, etc.? How would you interpret some of this, Bob? How would you what spin would you put on it, or truths that you can give us tonight on from your own personal experiences, mate?
Okay, so own personal experiences,
or other experiences that you've heard from other people.
Yeah. Okay. Like when I got out of the Air Force, I ended up taking a job as an apprentice electronics technician. Now, go back at that time to when I was about 15. I had an experience literally of walking through the workshop where I was to work. I could tell you exactly where my new test bench would be. I could tell you the colours of the tools, etc., on the bench, where everything was. The dirty jokes and the girlies and whatnot on the wall and whatever, because it was a complete blokes workshop. And and here I was, 8 years later, seeing that exact thing right there in front of me. And I'm talking right down to the smells, everything. And
the smell. You can remember the aromas and everything. That's right.
Yeah, because as soon as I walked into the place, it's like, I've been here. I know this is my job. And went through all the testing, didn't hear anything for like 2.5 weeks, but I knew that was my job. Sure enough, got a phone call. Yep. When can you start? Bang, done. And that is just one of many. There's been stuff where I've actually been taken back into previous lives. Now, some of this is very hard. I know I was in one of the concentration camps in World War II, where I was put into the gas chamber, which is one of the reasons why I breathe very shallowly in this life.
Me too.
To have all the full trauma, all those sensations, everything, and it's like literally you've picked up where you left off, and things that you never got the chance to deal with in that life has happened again. And what I find very interesting is what I lived through in my previous life is starting to happen again if we let the elites have their way, and I
Yeah.
feel that this time, no, they will not get there.
No. No, they won't. Not this.
There are things that are happening now. Um, Many I can't sort of talk about here, but yeah, some of the things that I've lived through and seen and done in my time with the Air Force, I can tell you there are other things at play which were not in the mix back then.
Yeah. Right.
And yeah, whether
Yeah.
people actually realise it or believe it, there is this time round there is outside help,
Oh
and
yes.
yeah,
Yes.
some of the stuff that I've
More
seen
than they.
come out, yeah, the next few months you are going to see some horrific stuff come out, and you are going to see a massive energy change, and I mean
Oh,
massive.
even within ourselves as well. The shift within ourselves is going to
Yeah.
actually. We're going to be shining in a different light to a degree as well. A lot of those that have actually done a lot of the inner work, a lot of the self forgiveness and self love. There's a lot of things that are going to change within us as well, and the way that we present ourselves towards the world and speak and act and treat each other.
Yep.
Yeah, like I can totally wholeheartedly agree with what's coming, and who's also around working with Sixth Branch.
Hmm.
These guys that work with the Sixth Branch. I mean, the people. When the people really find out the true history and nature of what has actually been taken from them, and the connections that it has to the stars and our galactic history, I don't think they'll be too quick to judge of what is really, here when they do find out. I mean, all of that's going to have to come out before any contact is actually made, and
Yes.
before I mean, all the history has to come out. I mean, I've done the work, I've done the research, I've looked at the history, I've compared it from different cultures, civilizations, and it's irrefutable. It's
Yeah.
irrefutable.
But most
And
definitely
I
it
think
is.
they're going to, yeah, and it's been totally misconstrued and inverted in such a way that we've all been living in fear of, what the church has been trying to push down our throats for thousands of years or hundreds of years. When in fact it's actually them that's in, the elites that are in actual fear of what is coming, and reverse projected that fear onto us through their indoctrination systems of religious dogma, no matter what the actual system of control is, whether it be from Christianity to Catholicism to Buddhism, I almost say Buddhism, sorry, to the Quran, or whatever.
Hmm.
They all have these very similar commonalities where they're all pointing the bony finger saying, you must feel bad for doing this and fear what's coming from up there and feel their wrath when they come. No, it's actually them that have actually been fearing this whole time, and
Quite
fearing
right.
what we become as well. What we become, what's locked up inside this DNA. It's not junk DNA, I can tell you that much, folks. It's actually, and I'm sure Bob can agree with me on this one, is that it's actually inactive DNA, 98% of it. And
Yep.
as Jesus once said, and I'm not a religious man, and I don't believe in the church, but I believe in the Spirit, and I believe in Source, and I believe in Jesus. He's a groovy man. Okay? And as he said once, as I have done these great things, so shall you, and more.
Hmm.
Okay?
I,
What are these
I, I,
great things? He walked on water. His greatest feat he ever conquered was death. He rose from the grave. What did we see when he rose from the grave? A fifth dimensional entity that rose through rock as a light being.
yeah.
He kept his promise. He knew exactly where he was going. He knew what he was going to become. He did the esoteric teachings and learnt from the ancient wisdom teaching schools of Egypt. Became a master swordsman, a spiritual master. These are the things that have been redacted from the early teachings of where he went for those years between the ages of 12 and 33 years of age. Where was he? He was in Egypt. And all of these beautiful things he mastered.
Yeah.
There's
And
so much history, people, that you just need to understand is that it's been kept from us. And when you truly understand the actual nature of it and the history of how it's connected to above, and it connects to every one of our old ancient cultures around the planet, you're right. When your eyes are open and you see this, you're going to be like, wow, Wow, I want to know that history because yeah, everything else you've been taught up until this point has been an absolute fucking lie, and that's the truth.
And one thing, folks, that you will actually start to find, especially now, and this is one thing I've been finding, while I've been tired and needing to sleep more, going into meditation and stuff, I'm actually now able to access my Akashic record. I'm now reliving and able to feel, hear, see lives that I've previously lived. This is what they term your junk DNA. This is who you are. Yeah, for however many eons that you've been around, your teachings and stuff are starting to come back to you. And the change that's happening within your body is why you are tired. And this is where it is so imperative for you just to keep one foot in front of the other, just keep plodding away. No matter how depressed that you could be, because the depression, the fear, the anxiety, this is what these assholes are using against you. Whether it's
Exactly.
the type of lighting that's around, you're constantly
Yep.
being bombarded by Wi-Fi signals, radio transmitters, cell phones, all of
Music.
this.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
and where if you can,
Distractions.
where if you can pull yourself away from that for a time and just let your body be, and very slowly you'll actually start to get these connections again, and where they will take
Yes.
you. Oh my God! Sorry, I've got my spirit guides either side of me at the moment, and yeah, my God, have I got some goosebumps going on. Um,
Love it.
they,
I love it.
the experiences that they will allow you to relive, because it's these old times
Relive.
that need to come forward. Because call them the deep state, the elites. They've destroyed a lot of the physical manuscripts of that time.
Yes.
And one of the things that
Either
they
it's either
cannot destroy,
destroyed or they're in possibly the Vatican, possibly.
yeah, but one of the things that they cannot destroy is your Akashic record.
Akashic
And this is why
records.
more
Yeah.
and more people are starting to wake up, and this is coming
Yeah.
through. And the real one to look out for, folks, is your young kids, your young children,
Yeah.
because they haven't been
The
fully
kids of the future.
indoctrinated yet. And these
No, that's right.
folks,
This is real.
these young children, they have access to their Akashic record now.
They know how
Especially
to
look
target
out,
them before they're even.
yeah, and just start looking at the little signs, folks, where things like they're standing up and moving around, you know, uh, long before a normal baby should. Um,
Yeah.
Things like they're starting to talk
Yeah.
before, it's sort of, like a couple of years old, and they're speaking very, very fluently, very well, irrespective of what
Yeah.
language. Because what's
Yeah.
happening is their body is already connecting to their Akashic record. They don't need
Akashic.
to
Yeah.
relearn what they've already learned. And it
Wow.
just little by little, just take that step back, folks, and look
Oh,
around.
you just made me jolt. You just made me jolt just then. What they've already learnt, and also what you said before about reliving, reliving what you already know. Okay.
Yes.
That leads me to a question that I need to ask because I have had. I mean, I've shared with the audience on previous uh, posts that I've put out about out of body experiences and stuff, and there's one in particular. And now that I've actually got an opportunity to ask, if I might ask you, what does it mean when you've found or seen yourself in two separate scenarios doing the same thing, but one was where you were training, the other was when you were actually flying? if you've seen yourself in two separate scenarios at two separate time frames, many years apart. First time I saw myself was training, being asked to um, go and make a Merkaba
Yep.
around myself within a stream wading up to my waist. Okay,
Yes.
and then I've managed to pull this off. I raised up out of the water. I remember seeing everything. I moved forward. I moved back. I moved up and down. I remember losing my concentration. I dropped into the water, and I still remember, still today, still the water glinting, with sunlight behind it, behind my fingertips. Dropping off my white cotton linen that I was wearing. Okay, and I remember all the children laughing with the adults that were on the shoreline and everything. And I remember the words of the person that was teaching us, saying, do not laugh, children, for where you think Chris has failed, he has not, and neither shall you too." Now, I don't
Mm-hmm.
speak like that, okay? But the
Yeah.
fact is, I've retained this memory of this whole incident, and I mean, it's as fresh as a daisy to me up here today as it was the day it happened. And then probably about 4 years later, I had another dream where I'm up in, say, sunset, in the middle of the clouds, okay, beautiful sky, purples, pinks, and all the different hues you could see in a sunset. And then I'm in my Merkaba, and I'm like, it's like I'm Goku or something from Dragon Ball Z. I'm flying like, you wouldn't believe,
Yep.
this big, beautiful yellow Merkaba coming out of me, and I'm completely weightless and completely in my own electromagnetic field. And I see another one coming towards me from a distance. And then as it's coming closer, it's like a slow motion scene in a movie where they're going past each other. It's like boom, that big
Mm-hmm.
heavy bass sound. And the person that was across from me in the other Merkaba was pointing at me, going like that, going past me, and I'm sitting there going slow motion, and it was me pointing at myself.
Yes. Because you're
So what would
reliving
that
your
say
memory.
about that?
Yep. Okay.
So
So
I'm reliving a memory of something that I've actually
yeah.
done.
So you're physically reliving your memory. Now they may have been different lives,
Yeah,
but what it
cross
is,
intersected somewhere.
yeah. So what you're actually doing, you're reconnecting with your past and past lives, but
Wow.
because you have to come back, which is why you're flying and you see yourself, but you still have to come back to here. So
Yeah, that's right. To hear
you're
avatar.
reliving what you've already learned to bring it back to now. Now,
Huh. It's
there's
funny that
something
because I came to that same conclusion myself.
yeah.
Wow.
So you're bringing that knowledge back. Now,
Wow.
bearing in mind, this is a time, or, sorry, the time of when we were really free. Um,
That's
Magic and flight, all those sort of things, they were,
a
second
natural
knowledge.
part of it.
It is literally how you were.
Yep. A natural
Now,
part of her
there's
state of
there's
being.
something I'm going to say here, and it's probably going to put the cat amongst the pigeons for a few people. Um, have you folks out there ever actually looked at your scapula or your shoulder bones?
Shoulder blade bones, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, have you ever actually really had a good look at it? It doesn't really protect
I
a
have.
huge amount, but however, when you seriously look at it, it's able to carry a huge amount of weight.
Yes.
It is actually quite a strong point within your body. Now, how many people here have actually ever thought that those points there is where our wings should be?
I have always thought that.
And, you know,
Always thought that.
and somewhere along the line, have our wings been clipped? Because I've seen in my past lives times where I have been flying
Yep.
and, going through all sorts of particular areas, just literally walk outside, couple of steps, bang, I'm airborne, and I'm off.
Yeah.
Now, to sort of start to experience that, but then also taking that back to the older times, we weren't a race that actually were on the ground a huge amount. And this is where a lot of the history and whatnot for me, there's a lot of confusion, and I'm still working on it. Exactly who were we? And more importantly,
Yes.
what are we? You look at a lot of your
Yes.
buildings and that sort of stuff around, and Martin Letka and Campbell Purvis and that sort of thing, they've touched on this stuff. That the buildings themselves, back in the older
What
days, no toilets. The toilets have been
no
added,
toilets whatsoever in the buildings. That's right.
and yet
How did we
you,
pass? How did we pass food?
exactly.
Did we eat?
And were the buildings there only to harness energy and send it up? One crash of an airship back in the early 1900s. Suddenly, all air travel, boom, gone.
Right.
Whatever happened to like the likes of the steampunk movement, that sort of stuff, where this stuff has been readily seen in a lot of movies, where truth in plain sight. However, there's a lot of truth in stuff that has been hidden. Why? Where has it gone? Who were we? And literally, at the moment, we are a species with amnesia, and this is where we need to find out who we were. Are we descendant of angels? Like, did we actually have wings? For those who didn't have wings, were they in airships? Where are the airships? And even here's something to really contemplate too, folks. You look at a lot of the early maps. Now, history tells us that back in the day, all they had was a sailing ship. So how can you turn around and have, with such accuracy, the placement of cities, rivers, and other geological sort of places? How can you get the accuracy if you can't sail up the rivers, or you're only sitting there on the coast? How can you get that sort of accuracy? And there is only one way. That is by the air.
Yeah.
So somewhere, some way, our ancestors were flying.
Oh,
and
God, absolutely.
The likes of Mercator and those sort of people, they knew.
Absolutely.
And
I agree.
And it's just a matter of, put the cognitive dissonance to the side and just start thinking. Just think for yourself, folks. It's all there in plain
Critical
sight.
thinking.
Yeah.
Exactly. Critical thinking is all it takes.
Just start feeling. And you really will start to ask yourself these questions. And very quickly, you'll actually start to realize this world is nowhere near what we know it as.
No. And the size of it either. What they show us on NASA's photos, and that's not our planet. That's not our planet. If you think that for a second, that is not our planet. That is just a construct of what they want you to believe. Not even a smidge of what the actual surface area of our actual planet is. That's just what they want you to believe, everyone. If you actually have seen the map, like Bob and I have both seen the same map. We've discussed this at length privately. The realm that we're in is just one of probably hundreds, if not thousands, that are available. My cat's actually, just attacking my wires for my microphone. Sorry, I'll have to put these in the drawer. Sorry about that. It's just one of well, I wouldn't say thousands, but definitely hundreds of many realms and that are actually on this world. And it seems to be that there are quite a few domes or realms that are actually sealed off from one another. I mean, if anyone thinks that Asgard, the legends of Asgard, are actually out there anywhere in this ether or this etheric universe that I've got on my screen back there, out there in the great three-dimensional realm, well, it's not. It's right here. It's right here on this planet. Asgard is a real place and it's a real people. Absolutely. As Odin once said, it's not just a place, it's a people. And it is here. It's been here all along. That's just one place that I'm going to say. One day I'll actually pull up the actual map for you, people, and yeah, I'd love to show you because I think we could actually do a show in that in itself, couldn't we, Bob?
Yeah, most definitely. Some of the best things that I've seen just recently of Truth in Plain Sight. Go and have a good look at his Dark Materials, and in particular, season 3. And have a look at what's going on in the world right now. And you could even come straight into season 3 and have a look. And I'll tell you what, folks, for those who haven't followed the story and you come in straight away, change the names of a few things here and there, and you have exactly what is going on here now. You know, it is a fight of good and evil. It is a fight of the church because they know it's a lie. And yeah, there's so much there. And people may argue things of the underworld that it doesn't exist. Well, folks, I can actually tell you that is a very real place. When I started to really open up as a medium, going back many moons ago, I ended up retrieving a soul, and I believe it is actually from the underworld. Now, when I went into that place, I was surrounded, with my spiritual team, and the second that you landed, you went into a place that is grey, absolutely no light. Every last bit of your soul, happiness, joy, anything like that, literally is being pulled out from you. You can feel it being sucked out of every portion of your body. Now, we found the particular soul, and it's saying flash of light, boom, we're back. It took me another 4 days energetically to get over what I did in my dream for one night.
Wow.
Absolutely
4 days recovery.
4 days of literally rang the boss and said, that's it, no, not even coming in. You just had no energy, headaches, the whole lot. Got myself cleared, spiritually, and it took me days because that's how much energy was literally pulled out of me. So yes, folks, it is definitely real. God only knows was really under there. I saw a glimmer, and that is an experience I don't want to, really go through again.
Yeah, I can highly agree on that. Things that go bump in the night definitely do exist. I mean, I've had some experiences myself in the 49 years that I've been alive. And I can tell you now some of the things that I've seen. Really make me question the nature of our very reality and the fact that we've always been taught as kids, don't be afraid of the monster under the bed. Well, guess what? Yeah, we should be, because they're very real and they're fucking nasty ass, mate, eh?
Yes.
And they're not just monsters; they're demonic in every way. And the realm that they live in is a place of pure chaos, pure insanity. There is no logic. There's no reason. There's no critical thinking. It's just complete instinct: kill or be killed.
Yes.
There's just no remorse, there's no compassion, there's no empathy, there's no nothing, there's no thought process. This is just, yeah, these entities have one thing in mind: kill,
Yep.
possess, overrule
And
everything. You
folks,
yeah,
when you get right into the depths of depression, that sort of thing, that
yeah,
is when you're most vulnerable to these entities.
yeah,
That's what they look for.
absolutely.
And when you really
Oh
start to
yes,
get down, start to feel, especially around your kidney area, because that's the energy that they want around your base chakra. So if your lower back kidneys are really aching, start thinking about getting yourself smudged, or get a clearing of some description. The other one that they love to do, or love to sit, is generally just below your shoulder blades. So you get a lot of back neck pain and around the base of the skull. And what they're doing, they're actually
so yeah,
feeding on your energy down your spine. They're stopping um, all your chakras from aligning and working together. So what happens is you start bending over, you end up with a lot of headaches, dizziness, brain fog,
my
the
goodness,
whole nine yards.
yeah,
But this goes on for days and days and days. And this is where
yeah, mine
modern
does.
medicine turn around and go, oh, take a pill, take a pill.
Yeah,
And the
exactly,
worst,
exactly.
absolute
Yes.
worst thing you can do is take a pill, because what you're actually
Oh,
doing is you're
absolutely,
deepening your depression. Even though they're giving you
absolutely.
antidepressants, yeah, the worst thing you can do is actually take one, because
Yeah,
you're
I'll
actually
agree with that.
now literally conceding to it. Where if you can bring yourself out into the light, get yourself cleared. If you can't
Yep,
clear it, find someone, whether it's a Reiki master or white witch, whatever, it doesn't matter. Whatever resonates to you, go and see that person and have them get that entity removed. And
and work
yeah,
on you. Yeah.
and it's for your own safety, because
Oh,
there's
absolutely. Personal self
I've had
well-being. Absolutely.
I've had instances where these particular entities have driven people literally to insanity or to suicide. And
Oh
sometimes
yeah,
the person that you least suspect it is the person that will end up suffering from it, because modern
yeah,
medicine will not accept that there is something
exactly,
outside of what what we can physically see. And
exactly.
believe me, folks,
Unless
it's
it's
real.
tangibly physical, they don't believe. Exactly right. Exactly right. Now, I've actually can completely wholeheartedly agree with you on that. I've actually seen myself, or not, sorry, not seen myself. I have seen for myself a set of eyes appear out of the dark, literally in
Yeah.
front of me, and I mean to sit there and look at these eyes, and I mean the spacing on the eyes, like our spacing is roughly here. Spacing on this thing was this wide.
Yeah.
It was a
Yeah.
much larger entity than what I was. To see its eyes that far apart freaked the shit out of me. Literally.
Hmm.
I mean, and I wasn't on drugs or anything like that. I wasn't drinking. This was literally just walking home one night from the Stanford Plaza Hotel when I used to work there about 17, 18 years ago, doing a night shift. And I was coming home about probably, well, actually, the last train. And I had to walk through a dark section. And this one dark section, I wasn't even aware of any of the stuff that I know now either. I was a very arrogant, ignorant, pig-headed little bastard. I was, and I will admit that. Um, I had no care for the esoteric. I had no care for the etheric. I had no caring for anything as such. Yeah, I was just head down, bum up, pay your child support, pay your rent, and just do your best you can. Like that was when my
Hmm.
daughter was 2. She's now 20. But the fact was, I was walking through this dark section, and in this dark section, I had this eerie, this deathly, sickly feeling come over me straight away, and I was like, I've always listened to the intuition of myself when my body speaks to myself. Now, as much as I wasn't in contact with any communication of this information that I know now, the fact was that I was listening to my intuition back then is what got me through the situation. And I looked at this thing. I stared it straight down the eye, down the barrel. I looked it straight at in the eyes, and I just looked at it and went, "Piss off!" Like straight to it, I just went, "Piss off." As much as it appeared, I was scared but I stood my ground. Now I think this was also because of the fact that, like you, I have my spirit guides and my family above that are working with me constantly. Even my grandmother, I've actually been told recently that my grandmother is actually one of the primary um, watcher, one of the ones that are watching over me, the one that I never got to see buried. And she got me through. I believe it was her that actually got me through that situation, especially knowing also that I had my near-death experience and what I carried back in frequency as such, because I know that I carried back quite a lot of frequency when I came back, and hence the reason why I had such a lot of problems integrating when I came back as well. I suffered migraines day in, day out for three,
Mm-hmm.
4 years on end. It was debilitating, But the factor was is that the light and the frequency codes that I carried back with me after coming back from that realm outside of my body was still with me. And this thing was trying to test the water to see if I would feel it or not, to see if I would jump into that low density vibration and frequency. And it didn't actually expect to get the reaction that it got from me. Because, I mean, I looked at this thing and went, piss off. Get out of here. You have no authority here. Get out of here. I'm not afraid of you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this thing, I mean, it's like having a look at my eyes like now, saying this, I'm in blackness right now. All of a sudden the eyes appeared like that. And then all I said was what I said. And it was like, the eyes disappeared back into the blackness. And that was it. But I can tell you, standing your ground, standing in your light, standing in your truth, standing in frequency, standing in all that you are, in the greatest of your the creation that you have been made to be, is what they fear the most, is that you can't do this. They want this control over you. Okay? But
Mm-hmm.
if you stand in this, they have no power, no authority whatsoever. That's the whole thinking of this whole construct of the darkness that they put in TV shows and etc., in our faces every day. It doesn't matter. And they want us to believe that this is part of the new norm. Well, it's not. It's never going to be. Not in the world that we're creating. It's going
Yep.
to fade out. So will they out of existence. Go back to source for all I care. There's a world that is waiting for 8 billion people to join in right now, and I can tell you now, the universal waters are warm. We need to all jump in. There's nothing
Mm-hmm.
that these guys can do anymore. There's
Oh,
nothing they can do. But I can guarantee you, people, those things are real. And I've seen a lot of shit that can really make your head turn just white overnight in a second. Yeah.
yeah, I can definitely agree with that because for me, my real life changing time, if you want to put it that way, I was born a medium, and I really dismissed a lot of it in my earlier years. Just
Yeah.
couldn't care less. I was a fighter, scrapper, just shut it off. Nah,
Yep.
it wasn't until I left the electronics industry altogether and became a paramedic. And
Yes.
I'd been through some absolutely horrible time. Now, this is back in the day where the workplace support, and so you could talk to people about things. It wasn't there. It was the stiff upper lip. Shut up, get on with it, man. Harden up. Take a concrete pill, get over it.
Yep.
And I'll be honest, I fell into depression. I had a loaded 12 gauge shotgun in my mouth, and I was ready to literally pull the trigger and nah, that's it, gone. Just get me out of this godforsaken place. The pain, it's too much. Now, at that time, when I was about to pull the trigger, I had something happen to me, and I've never seen it since. But I actually had an angel appear in front of me, and she turned around and goes, no, it is not your time. You have too much work to do. And boom, gone. Simple message, straight to the point. At that point, right there, and I was 21 years old at that time.
Wow.
And that gave me such a jolt where I turned around and it's like, wow, what the hell have I just witnessed?
Yep.
And from there, it was like, okay, the firearms, they went to a friend.
Yeah, mine too.
Within 3 months, I actually had myself a girlfriend. He turned into my wife. Everything changed because I started to go down a path where I was not happy. And it literally spun around. And I started to look into the esoteric sort of stuff. And the first real medium that I went and saw, I walked in very skeptic. It's like, nah, I'm going to say absolutely nothing. I'll see what this lady has to say. I'm going to give absolutely nothing away. Well, I walked out of there and I was whiter than a sheet of paper. There were things that she came out with. There ain't no way in hell, as sure as my backside points to the ground, there is no way that that person would have ever known to this day. And she came out of retirement and actually taught me. And I'm absolutely blessed. Janique is still hanging on in there in New Zealand. And I thank my lucky stars every day. And she's helped so many more since. Because not only did she come out of retirement for me, but she came out of retirement for several others. And back in Wellington, New Zealand, she's still there. She's battling away. And absolutely love her for it. So if Janique, if you ever do hear this, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
Bless her.
And
Bless her.
and it started. And part of those teachings, you actually learn that throughout your life, your spirits will put little testers in front of you, exactly as you've described. Now, what they're actually looking to do is they want to see your reaction. Now, it could be seeing an entity for a start, or showing you real clairvoyance or clairaudience. So you're actually hearing spirit. How do you react?
Yes.
Do you freak out? Do you ignore it? Are you quite calm? And just all through your life, they'll give you little nibbles of of things, and they actually see how you react. And then surely, as you start to develop and you become stronger, those little gifts that they've given you testers for, suddenly they'll now start coming full time to you. And I'll tell you what, amazing stuff. Where you can actually hear the voice of someone that you have not seen in 20, 30 years, and you're hearing them like it was yesterday.
It's funny you say that because sorry, go ahead.
To truly understand, folks, that you are never ever alone. People, they pass, but I'll tell you what, the love in your heart will still connect you with them. And when you need them, you only have to remember them, and they are there.
That's just beautiful. Wow. Yeah, wow, man. Because I actually was going to say I actually just lost my train of thought, because I actually wanted you to continue, but it probably wasn't relevant anyway. That's all right. It was relevant, sorry, but I've actually lost my train of thought for a sec. It's okay. But absolutely beautiful to know that this teacher of yours is actually still around. To know that she came out of retirement to do this for several other people as well. I mean, if she hadn't have, you wouldn't have been able to take on this mastery that you've taken on. I would never have met you.
Yep.
There are no randoms. Like everything was set in place.
Most definitely. And I mean, my journey, I'll tell you now, folks, it has been an absolute hell on earth. I've had some absolutely horrible experiences. I have seen things that nobody ever should see. I've been shot at. I'll tell you, nothing is more sobering to bring you back to reality than listening to a projectile whiz past your ear. Of seeing humanity at its absolute worst, but there's good reason for it, and it is actually so. I've understood the darkness, and once you start to master the darkness, you can now appreciate the light.
The light. Exactly.
And the love that is actually truly out there. For most people, they only ever see the dark because that's all they know. It's all they've been indoctrinated with. They have not actually found not only the love of themselves, but the love of spirit that is actually around them. And it actually goes sort of back to, again, Janique, where she was saying, things like in your car, stop and actually have a look at your surroundings. Feel them. What's going on around you? Take that step back. Life is not about, I've got to get to this point. I've got to go and have that meeting. I've got to go to the shops. I've got to get dinner from the restaurant, whatever. Stop. Take that step back. The minute that you do, you actually start to realize what is around you. Start to connect with nature, because nature will tell you a huge amount of stuff. Like for me, most mornings, after I finish work, because I work in the night, I'll go outside and I'll actually listen to the birds start to sing first thing in the morning. And
Me too.
What is happening around the world? Is the neighbourhood tense? Is there rain in the air? Is there lightning in the air? Feel, absolutely, just let your feelings get out there and be one with nature, and nature will actually start to talk to you. It sounds really weird, but talk to the trees, talk to the plants.
Oh yes,
Talk to the
absolutely.
birds. And it may take a little while, but you'll actually find that nature will actually start to trust you because you're different. Nature will suddenly start to come to you because it can actually feel you're not a threat. And
No, that's right.
when you start to embrace that way of being, because it's not just a way of life, it's actually a way of being. A lot of people where they follow the dark side, they cannot get to you because it drives them totally insane because you are resonating so much higher. They cannot stand it. And
they expend themselves trying.
Yeah. I mean, I look back at one point where I was working in an office and I used to drive one of the ladies in there absolutely nuts. Now, she was a horrible, horrible piece of work. And every now and again, I'd go and lob balls of energy over to her, just simply to piss her off. and she would. It would set her off like you wouldn't believe. Go and flicker a bit of love, and next thing, and you just sit there. And just because you could. And and sometimes other people would actually start to pick up and it's like, what have you done to her? Did you send her something? And it's like, don't know what you're talking about. And because because most people are not, they're not spiritual. They don't think of that. They don't live it. Whatever they're too tied up in getting pissed on a Friday night, or talking about their boyfriends, or whatever their materialistic things are. And I mean, have fun out there, folks. Have fun. Like one of the things I used to really love doing. You'd have a baby in a supermarket, and clearly, it's in the trolley, it's crying. It doesn't really like the energy. put a little energy ball together and just blow it slowly over to the baby.
That's
And then suddenly the baby
yeah,
will stop crying or go to sleep. And suddenly you
yeah,
watch the parent, boom, they're over onto that trolley. It's like, what's happened to my baby? Why isn't it crying?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think something's
And
wrong. Yeah,
yeah, and
I'll actually expand on that
spread the
if I
love.
could too. If I could, Bob. I actually had a moment today. Well, see, as you know, we've been going through the retrograde and we've been suffering
Mhm.
through the different frequencies, polarities, and energy integrations. And I have a neighbour who unfortunately doesn't handle. She is spirited, and she actually has one of the most amazing singing voices I have heard. I mean, like right up there with Celine Dion. This woman can sing, okay? But unfortunately, when the frequencies and polarities are coming in, the energy shift is in, she doesn't handle it too well, even though she is spirited to some degree and she has even quite a lot of knowledge. But because she actually is in, I won't say the position that she's in, that's private, but because she hasn't, I can see that she struggles. Okay, and she hasn't done a bit of inner work. She 5:30 in the morning. I'm not kidding you. At the top of her lungs, hear it through the walls. Okay, like screams. Okay, and this morning, and I generally, I usually feel for her. Okay, now this morning, I actually gave, like you were just saying, I imagined a ball of light in between my hands, and I felt her scream this morning. I actually felt her pain big time this morning, and I said out loud, "You're not really handling it this morning, such and such." I won't say their name out of privacy reasons. And I said, "You know what? I'm going to send you over just a big ball of love right now because I want you to feel the love and the healing energy that all people deserve. You know, you deserve that dignity, you deserve that respect. I'm sending this over to you now, Lizzie." And like she was, you know, I'll call her Izzy. Okay, that's her nickname. Okay, that's her nickname. You know, send this over to you now, Izzy. Okay, and within 5 minutes, the crying had stopped, the wailing had stopped, the screaming had stopped, and out of the blue, I heard a laugh. I heard a laugh, and the next thing you know, I could hear her coming out the front door, and I heard her saying, I'm not sitting here doing this. I'm going out for the day. That's it." I heard her get in a car, and out she went. And that's just exactly a perfect example of what you were just saying. It's just sending that intention, that heart space, that love. Imagine, visualize, like pretend. For example, okay, for those of you who don't really believe in this stuff, but you have a love for, let's say, Dragon Ball Z. If any of you know what a spirit bomb is, when he sits there and puts that spirit bomb up and he drops it, well, it's not meant to blow anything up. It's meant to sit there and fill your heart with love,
Mhm.
lift your space up. Okay, well, that's the sort of thing I sit there and imagined a small Kamehameha blast sort of ball in my hand this morning, and I just put my hand on my chest and I just sent it over like that to her. Yeah, and within that 5 minute space, that happened. So that's exactly proof of what you're saying right there, Bill. Exactly,
Mhm.
perfect example.
I
Just using
mean,
that and this as well, vibration, frequency,
most
tone.
definitely, most definitely. I mean, most people don't actually realize the power of the energy that is actually around them. Now, I'm
Exactly.
not saying that folks that who are really awake and tuned in actually try this, but slightly embarrassing. But I went into a supermarket once and strutting in like a peacock, thinking I'd own the show, and I thought I'd be
As you have, yes.
a bit of a brave soul, and I'd bless the meat in the meat section. Well,
All right. Yep.
suddenly the release of energy set me on my ass in the middle of the shop, and all these people are sitting there
Wow.
looking around, and I'm trying to pick myself up off the ground, going, "What the hell just happened?"
Yeah.
I quickly got my trolley and
Wow.
and out,
Wow, man.
and it wasn't until afterwards that I actually sat back and realised how much fear the animals were in when they went to slaughter, because
Oh, they're
it sits in the meat, and
yeah. Residual energy.
never even
Exactly right.
gave it a thought that releasing all of that energy all at once, and boom, and ever since then, every meal, I still thank the spirits and whatnot around for
Yes.
for
You
for
thank,
helping.
well, just like in Avatar, you thank the animal for
Yes,
providing you the sustenance. Exactly, exactly. Just like in Avatar. And you send them with spirit, and giving
okay.
them thanks and homage. Exactly right. It's called having respect and universal law for the creature that is giving you the
Yeah,
sustenance that you are eating. Exactly right.
okay. Yeah.
Exactly right.
And the thing is, it doesn't
Wow.
just have to be an animal, folks. A plant is
No,
still a living being,
exactly
irrespective
right. Give
whether
it
you're vegetarian, vegan. You're well, you could almost say a carnivore because there are people out there that are like it, or an omnivore.
absolutely.
Irrespective of what it is, you know, your body requires sustenance. Give thanks for it, no matter where it comes from.
Yep. I sit there and sometimes, like, I don't eat red meat. I don't eat red meat, and I haven't eaten red meat for about probably 6 years now. But whenever I do cook, it's primarily with either fish, chicken, or pork,
Yep.
or something like that. But I always, because I know that the animal has received such trauma and pain upon its slaughter, I always ask that the energy and the frequency and the residual memory of that pain be removed via source before I consume this, because whether people believe it or not, everyone, you're actually consuming that negative trauma and energy that that animal has actually had induced upon it upon its death. So basically, if you eat a good steak and you say, "Oh yeah, it tastes good," blah blah blah, going down, but the next day you find you're having a shit day,
Yep.
have a look inside your stomach, because that's the cause of it.
Yes. Most
You're
definitely.
actually induced you've actually induced yourself to feel the same residual negative energy and pain. To a degree, it'll come up in some other form the next day, and you'll find
Mhm.
you'll have a shit day, guaranteed, every freaking time.
Yep. Yep. But most
I always
definitely.
pray over my food, always, and that's why they always have that saying of, when you make food or cook with food, cook it with love,
Yes.
intention, frequency. And if you start, like, I've even found singing sometimes, like, I just sometimes will just bust out a song, but it's a very uplifting song or something like that. But I'll sing whilst I'm cooking, and I
Yep.
just find sometimes the flavors are so much more enhanced. But the day that I have the next day is like, whoa, right up here. Whereas other times when I don't cook, or eat, I actually sing to my food when I'm cooking, or bless or anything like that, I'll find that I'll have either a flat day or a shit day, and that's
Yep.
guaranteed.
Yeah.
That's guaranteed.
Very, very much so.
So
And
yeah,
yeah.
please, people, just, whether you think it's a silly practice or not, please, try to get into the practice of actually just talking to your food and asking source, if you will, to remove whatever negative energies, traumas, frequencies that might be still caught up residually within that actual flesh that you will consume, because it will affect you. But then also, once you've removed it, cook it with love. It's the best way, because you'll find that things change. Your perspective, even of everything around you, also changes as well.
Yeah.
Your vibration and frequency also will as well. It'll adjust and actually, uh, uh, what's that called? Not the word pressurize. Um, where it becomes level with each other. You know what I mean? You
Oh yeah.
equalize. That's
Equalize.
equalize. Yes, yeah. Now I was going to ask you, but with some of the things that we've been talking about here as well, I was going to say, should we also cover the divine feminine and the divine masculine tonight, mate? Because I find that that's actually a very, very beautiful topic that hasn't been discussed enough. Have we got
Yes.
time to? Have we got time up our sleeve? Yeah, I think we're only up
Yeah.
to
Yeah. Well, I
1 hour
mean, we've
22
got a bit of time
for
for
time
that.
this
Yeah.
evening. You have? All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I've found myself within my path. Like, I was like you. I was a scrapper. I loved, punching on when I was younger. I had my ass handed to me quite a few times. I gave a
Oh
few
yeah.
ass handings too. Um, at the end of the day, I'm one of those people now that if you back me into a corner, that's the only time I'll come out guns blazing. I don't go looking for it. I don't go
Hmm.
trying for it. I don't go shit. If anything, I'm pretty much just one of those guys that I'll be a neutral person until you push me otherwise.
Yes.
But I've found, especially in the last few years during my journey and my path, um, I found that there's a sense of myself now that I'm actually used to be when I was younger, which I think you can probably even confirm with this, that we're taught as young boys or young men that it's actually not okay to cry. That it's actually an unmanly thing. I can actually tell most people, all of you now, that that is a big mistake that I made because that's called suppression.
Yes.
And I suppressed for a long time a lot of my thoughts, my feelings, and just pretty much zipped this because really, at the end of the day, the way I was taught is that men have to just suck it up, grow a ball sack, fill it, and pretty much just suck it up. Well, at the end of the day, no, that was actually making me sick. And I
Yes.
found that when I actually was able to release this, and I actually cried, and then found later on after not just crying, but then watching sometimes something that you would not find yourself often watching, or doing something that you wouldn't find yourself often doing, such as out of the norm, watch. Like I admitted this the other day to all of you guys on Friday night last week, is that I sat back on New Year's Eve last year. I didn't do anything. I was just here with me and my cat, and I got told, you fell on your sword. No, I didn't. If anything, I actually was truthful because it's the sort of guy I am. But I sat back and I watched, Forgetting Sarah Marshall and Love Actually, even though I had to get past that stupid scene with Hugh Grant dancing. But the factor is that the sentiments within these sorts of movies, these are generally normal, romantic comedies that you'd sit down and watch with your lady or your partner. Okay, but to sit there by yourself as a man and be able to be proud to be able to show your own emotions in such a way, whether you're by yourself or with someone, and to be proud of the fact that you're being in contact with this divine feminine self and actually seeing the beauty in a moment on the sentiment, okay, that's with that, and to be able to release that and show with no shame, I've found has actually given back to me something that I was missing for a very long time. And that balance now has come into such a way now that it's actually released me from quite a lot of previous burdens that I used to have, and pre-cognitive behaviors, pre-patterns that I'd already taken on. Just generally speaking, all these different things that we're indoctrinated to believe, they just fell away by the wayside the moment that I actually allowed these things to get back in contact with my inner self, so that masculine and feminine energy was balanced out and equalized. I was going to ask you, what if you've had any, because I mean, you're very spirited. I know that through our conversations that you have a very divine feminine balance within your masculine self. What sort of things have you experienced yourself that I could even throughout just our conversation now, that the others listening in will be able to possibly take away from something that you might have experienced or myself have experienced, that they can use to resonate and gauge within themselves right now? Like, say, for women, gauging within themselves where they are at within their divine masculine and warrior self within the feminine self, and for men to gauge within themselves their divine feminine self within the masculine self. Is there certain things that you could possibly elaborate on yourself through your own experiences that will help our audience be able to try and gauge a little bit for themselves and find where they might be able to push a little further and actually go that little bit deeper to get in contact with them? What sort of advice could you possibly offer, Bob?
Okay, probably one of the first things that I'd actually say is have a look, especially the males out there. Have a look right from when you first started kindergarten. You are indoctrinated. You're taught to suppress. The very essence of what they are trying to get you to suppress is empathy.
Yes.
Now, you can sympathize with people, and they sort of teach you that, or your parents do. But what they don't do is get you to empathize. So you're actually feeling what is going on and truly coming one-on-one.
Yes.
This is where the likes of food, drugs, alcohol, social pressure, sort of the ego, the well, I suppose the image that you have to portray, or what is deemed
That's right.
as a male, is really pushed to the forefront. Now, when you actually realize that all of this, it's fake, you do not actually need it as part of your life. Um,
That's right.
and you actually start to empathize. And there is a huge difference between sympathy and empathy. And
Exactly.
when you start to actually empathize um,
With another.
around, you'll actually naturally find that your drugs, alcohol, whatever, you naturally just you walk away from it. Those types
Yep.
of people that you used to hang around, because then you're now resonating at a higher frequency. They
Yeah.
no longer serve you. So now
That's right.
your base of friends change. You find that being in a large crowd is actually a discomfort for you. Like, I'll be honest,
I
I
find that
absolutely
myself.
hate going to shopping malls. I would far
Really?
sooner
Wow.
pop round to the local IGA, or small local greengrocer, or whoever. I'm in, I'm out. Not a lot of people.
Yeah.
Um, because the more empathetic you become, the more you open up, and the more
That's
you'll
right.
actually start to feel these other people, and it's simply your aura touching theirs as you're walking past.
Yes. That's right.
And
Yes. You can
um,
actually feel their energy. Yes.
yeah, and you sort of start to realize really how poisoned this world is, and how damaged people are, because all you're doing, literally, is you've got in touch with your feelings.
Yes.
And
That's what it is.
I mean,
Allowing yourself to feel and flow through you.
yeah.
Exactly.
Now, I mean, being a trucker, um, when you go there, you cannot show in that particular industry that you're sensitive. Um, the trucking industry is very homophobic,
Yes.
very racist. It's there are huge issues within it, and so you end up putting on almost like a front when you've got to go to work, and that is simply just to exist.
Yeah.
But deep down, when you're on your own, you can be whoever you are. And
That's right.
when I used to do line haul, there'd be times where I've driven down the road and I've gone past an accident scene or a cross that's been on the side of the road, and suddenly I've actually been shown the accident site. She's feeling your
He's
energy,
attacked. He's
and
loving me, right? Love.
so you're being shown what has happened, and
Yes.
so nature is actually now showing you what has transpired, so you can feel
That's right.
the pain, what these people have actually gone through. Now, whether
Yeah.
you realize it or not, you're helping those people if they're still earthbound, because people that
Yeah.
die very suddenly can often wander.
Yes.
They don't
Yes.
they don't lift and go home.
No.
They stay earthbound because they're,
Yeah.
1 minute they had a body, the next second, boom, they're out. You know they're lost.
That's pretty much my brother-in-law. That's pretty much my brother-in-law. Yeah, you've just explained exactly what he actually does. Because I feel him around, always wandering. Like he
Yeah,
hasn't moved on. He was taken very suddenly from us as well, about 13, 14 years ago. He
yeah,
was taken suddenly, and he was hit by a car outside of the Edamoga, just up from the Edamoga pub on the North
yeah,
Coast Highway, on the
yeah,
side
yeah,
service road. Yep, taken, bang, 60k an hour, hit by a van, thrown into the bushes, taken instantly.
yeah.
Didn't feel a thing.
That's all it takes.
And I still feel him today, still wandering around, still actually dressed. I actually see him out of my peripheral vision sometimes, dressed in the
Mm-hmm.
same clothes that he was in the day that we put him in his casket,
Yeah.
and put him in
Yep.
and actually had him cremated. He was wearing the same red shirt, same jeans, same white shoes. Yeah,
Yeah, most
crazy.
definitely. But yeah, but coming back, yeah, um, society itself has sort of molded men, um, yeah, to either have this tough image, as it were,
Exterior,
go and play
yes.
footy, go and get bashed and bumped and everything else. Now, do you need to put your
Yep.
body through that? No, you don't,
No.
because all you're doing is creating pain and suffering for you in your body. Um,
That's right.
to understand that there is always another way, and it's simply a matter
Right.
of taking a step back, looking, is there
Yeah.
a peaceful solution? And generally, to 99.99% of situations, yes, there is. And it's that
Yes. Always.
0.01% that, as you said, when you're cornered, there is only one way,
Yep.
and that's violence. I
That's
know
right.
the destruction that that I can create. I'm a very strong fella. If I hit
Yep.
someone, I know I can do some very serious damage, which is why I shun away from all of that. Now, I
Me too.
do not.
Yep.
I don't put myself in those situations. Um,
Same. Yep.
and yeah, I mean, my days of scraping and whatnot, they're done, long gone.
Yep.
Because I don't
Once you get in your
need
late
that.
40s, early 50s, that's it. It's all in the past. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, and
No
the
need for us to prove our point or anymore, or try to prove our egos to another person or ourselves anymore. It's
no,
something that's just an immature part of ourselves that's fallen to the wayside now.
and I think probably the real thing for people to take away here is the minute you turn around and say to yourself what other people's opinions are of you are theirs. I mean,
That's
I
right.
could not give a flying F what someone thinks
Yeah.
of me. With they see me
That's
crying and
right.
go, "Oh, what a baby," or whatever. Couldn't care less, because at the end of the
That's it.
day, it's me. I know me, and they don't like it.
That's right.
You know, away they go. And the minute you break
Yep.
that that fear, that dogma, you start
It's
to
so
actually
important.
understand what it is like to be free.
Yeah.
If I get run over by a bus tomorrow, so be it. It was obviously to happen. I'm not going to live
Yeah.
my life in fear that,
Yeah.
oh my God,
Exactly.
there's a bus coming. As soon as I see one, I'm going to run and hide. Bugger
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Exactly.
At
That's not
the
living.
same
That's
time,
living.
I'm not going to head out and start looking for every bus and go, oh yeah, okay, that's a pretty good one. I'll line myself up and I'll run in front of it, and if it
Yeah.
hits me, well, absolutely not. But yeah, just lose the fear, folks. And
Yeah.
the minute you get rid of that,
Stigma.
of what other
Stigma of fear.
people really think about you and whatnot. Yeah, and start living your life as you need to live it. And I'll tell you,
That's right.
yeah, you'll literally start to fly.
That's right. You'll start to fly. Exactly right.
Yeah,
I
and
found, I mean, I minimized over the last 17, 18 years, especially, the amount of what I'd call risk factor,
yeah,
putting myself into places with people and doing things that would possibly jeopardize all that I'd, especially in my earlier years when I went to rehab, back in 2006. I did a stint in rehab for 7 months there, where and I will admit I busted on program, okay, on my last month. But knowing that shame, knowing what I'd done, and walking away with the tools that I'd learnt there has kept me 17 years clean, 18 years this year, and I'm proud
absolutely.
of that. Okay?
Yeah, and so you should be.
But in saying that, yeah, absolutely. I have to be, because that minimization of risk factor and putting myself into these situations with people, places, and things left me in a place where, as you said, to just be able to be within myself and to feel. And by having, say, the mates, like for one, I had a lot of my mates taken, so to speak, once my marriage ended, and to me, I found that was quite liberating after a long time. It took me a while to get through it because you always have that victimization mentality when it first happens. You think, why me, why me? Well, until you own your own shit and actually think to yourself, okay, what did I do in this situation to push them to this situation that they did? Okay. And once you've owned your own, oh wow, I've actually just had deja vu just now. I've actually lived this in my dream. Wow, just speaking that just then. Wow. But yeah, once you've taken ownership of that and you actually find that you are, a certain cause of the effect, okay, and you drop down, forgive yourself for one. Forgive yourself. That's the biggest thing.
Very important.
You don't forgive yourself, you carry that residual energy and that memory there. The moment you say it out loud, I forgive myself, I also forgive that person. You're getting in touch with that that empathy within yourself. Having empathy for yourself is a big thing. Learning to forgive yourself for doing these things, putting yourself in these situations, not having the discernment enough or maturity to question the narrative instead of just going, you should have just not gone along with it. You should have questioned everything first. Instead, most people, we jump in and we suffer the consequences later. By sitting back and just being in contact with yourself and actually, as I said, being and feeling, discerning. I found it was one of the biggest fundamental things that actually freed me. It liberated me from that sense of always feeling negative about everything, always feeling down about everything, always looking upon myself like I had no self-worth. And sometimes, and trust me, I still struggle with this. You know about this as well because we've talked about this privately, and I have struggled a little bit lately. I will admit it. But that's the fact that at the end of the day, I still come back to my center. I mean, you've seen me off camera when we're not doing the show. We've talked about this in the sense that you've seen me smiling. It's not really at the end of the day something that I'm going to let me get down with. Due to the fact that I make a solid, informed choice, due to the fact that I've actually got all the information I need in front of me to weigh it up right there in this thing that's a supercomputer to make the informed decision I need to go forward instead of taking these left-hand turns, feeling down about it, getting negative about it, actually allowing myself to feel the empathy and get in contact with the actual sense of self, which is feminine. Okay, because the feminine part of that is actually where we need to draw that energy from, because that's where we're taught to cut off as young boys. And that's what they, as you said earlier, stand in line. Don't question. Oh, sorry, my microphone moved in. Don't question the narrative. Don't question your teachers. Do as you're told. Respect the authority. If you hurt yourself, stop crying. Suck it up. Oh, you're a tough kid. You'll be all right. Sorry, I may be tough to a degree, but when we're kids, but we have feelings. We cry. I remember the first time I got pecked by magpies. Okay, and I've actually embodied that memory that my mum, like how she treated me that day, and I still have this up here to this day. It's a beautiful memory because I came in crying, and I was only 4 years old. Okay, and I had peck marks from magpies all over my head, the dents, where that actually smashed into my head. And I remember the way that my mum treated me and put me on the couch and treated me tenderly and gave me that loving and empathic, compassionate, motherly care, that connection. Okay, now that's the connection that most men need to get back in contact with. How would you treat, especially if you've got a daughter, okay? Most guys think, oh yeah, I got a daughter, yep, no worries, she's going to grow up, marry a footballer, marry someone that's rich, has a good car, has a good job. No, you want these guys to be able to be in such a way that you don't have to have this tough exterior. You want a lady that's going to find that sort of part of a man more attractive eventually than this tough exterior that likes football, drinking, and carrying on with your mates and barbecues and sitting back and going, carrying on. What I find eventually is going to be more attractive when men actually embody this within their personal self and actually fundamentally integrate it consciously on an everyday level, they'll find that they'll actually exceed who they used to be in such a way that is so much more attractive to women out there and to anyone. That's what I mean. You exude such a beautiful sense of self and aura that people are just naturally drawn to it and attracted to it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I found that it's actually one of the biggest liberators and things that I have found on my journey in actually embodying the divine feminine. Like it's actually to see a scene in a movie that most men would sit there and go,
Yeah.
for me to sit there and go, wow, and actually allow myself to feel and actually have that flow. Now, I can sit there and honestly say, I can do this in front of my mother, and my mum actually looks at me and goes, wow, that's beautiful, Chris.
Yeah.
Because her husband, my stepfather, he's 1945, okay? 1945 he was born. You know that era? That's, you can't take me and turn me into new tricks. You can't teach me a new thing. Okay? Well, no, you can't. You can't teach him a new thing. You know, he's one of those tough exterior, loves his football, meat pies, and holding cars. Okay? You can't teach him any differently. And if you try to tell him any differently, it's no. Okay? So he's got that whole mentality down pat, really indoctrinated, ingrained mentality of suck it up, say nothing, do your best, and provide.
Yeah.
And have no feeling doing it.
I'll tell you now, Chris, one of the biggest things in my life that changed so much is the day that I went from a man to becoming a dad. To watch life come into this world and to sit and hold a creation that you and your partner have made, welcome into the world and have that love that is now in your arms. And that,
be emotional, mate.
Yeah, and that, I'm sorry if there are guys out there who are single. Yeah, the minute you man up and really man up, and you bring a life into this world where suddenly you're not just having to be a protector, but you're a teacher. You have to have that love for your children. And the minute you can stand up and and they open their eyes, and they accept you because they already know you. You slept next to your partner in bed. They know your voice. It's like, here's dad, here's mum. These are the people that have to be within my life. And when you really start to look at how society is, and what the establishment does in order to break that family,
divide and conquer,
because they want the male and female separated. They don't want that unity, because when you have that unity and a child, you are a very, very strong body, very strong. And even looking at what society have been doing to the women, trying to make them men, ladies. You are feminine. You do not need to prove yourself.
That's right.
Whether you're trying to do a man's job, be like a man, whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, if that's what you feel that you're drawn to, by all means, go and do it.
Well, that's exactly right.
In this world, ladies, you do not have to prove that you're a man. Why?
You're already equal. In my book, already equal.
Absolutely. I mean, what point is there to prove?
Actually, there is no book. They're just equal. There is no book. They're just equal to me. Yeah. There is no reason to prove them.
Absolutely. I mean, men are naturally, their bodies are different. They do different roles. Exactly the same with the women. Your bodies are very different. Now, you put out into the
Wow.
workforce and that sort of thing. And believe me, I'm not a sexist person, but there are definitely some things that women should not go down the line of, and it's simply because it's not in your makeup.
Yeah,
Whether that
I
particular
understand
job
that.
requires just outright brute raw strength, and not saying that you girls are weak, you're not,
No, not at
but
all. Not at all.
in those situations, it's not right. On the same token, where there's um, tenderness, nurturing, that sort of thing, a bloke, that's not right for
That's
him.
right. That's
Yeah,
right.
and it's like why try and confuse the two?
Yeah, exactly.
Be who you are, how you're built, and
Yeah,
live in your truth.
yeah,
And also going back as well, you were saying, about liberating yourself and the empathy and that sort of thing. One of the other big
yeah.
things too, folks, is when you start to realize in this world, you do not need to carry other people's baggage.
That's the big thing.
You have enough worries and whatnot of your own. You know,
Yeah,
if they're dumping on you, they're not a friend. Hand it back.
that's right.
If
That's absolutely
if
100%
there's
correct.
one thing that I've certainly learned, after my marriage collapsed, yeah, sure, I know I was part of the issues. I wasn't all of the issues. I owned what was mine, but I'll tell you what,
Yep,
I bloody dropped what wasn't mine. Because at the end of the day,
yep.
why should I carry something that is not mine?
That's not yours. Exactly right. It only weighs you down and burdens you further and leads you further to depression. Exactly.
It, exactly. And
No need for it.
be free.
Yep. Totally agree. Totally agree. Cause, like my daughter, when I had her, up until that point, I was very hardened through my own experiences. But when, as you said, when you see a life created through the love that you share with your partner, and you see that love brought into the world as a living, breathing being that's made from that love, and you actually get to hold
Yes.
it for the first time, and you
Yep.
not only, well, I mean, they can't see you, of course, but they can smell. Their senses are so heightened, even at
Heightened.
that point in time. They know
Mm-hmm.
your scent, to a degree, after a few moments. Just the love that you hold right there at that moment, from the moment you've actually really held that person for the first time. Like I was
Mm-hmm.
there, witness when my daughter came out, and I got to hold her, second, of course. But the moment
Yep.
I connected with her, and in my arms, I felt a love unlike any love I had ever
Mm.
felt before in all my
Yep.
life. And it softened this hard exterior like that. In a
Yep.
moment, I was melted to mush. And I can
Yes.
tell you, she had me wrapped around her finger for many, many years. Now she's an adult. Now she's 21 this year.
Yeah.
But the fact is that I have not changed that love all these years for her.
Yeah.
And it's actually even stronger now than it ever has been.
I
It
mean,
actually has. But just that,
I was there for the birth of both of my boys, and sadly, I mean, my ex-wife has poisoned my children against me. But like you, after all of these years, every day, multiple times, the love I have for those kids has never, ever waned, no matter what she says. And
yeah,
yeah, to this day, and I know somewhere along the line, they will find their way back. But when it's time,
that,
and
yeah.
then they will actually learn the truth of everything that has gone on, and they'll actually start to learn what they've missed.
I can only hope and pray that happens for you as well, mate, as well as myself, because I'm in the same position
Yeah,
to a degree. Um, yeah, the whole,
and
yeah. I'm hoping that one day she'll just make her way back, and one day be at that front door and just say, "Hey, Dada, can we talk?"
Yeah,
Yeah,
it,
babe, come in. Come on
absolutely.
in, babe. Give me a big hug. Yep,
But
can't wait.
but then
So
when
yeah,
people
I mean, we've got to have our lives move forward. Still, that's the thing. We can't sit
that's
around and
right.
wait for that to happen. We have to continually advance, move forward, and evolve
Yes.
always. So that when they do come back, they're going to see the exact opposite of what they've been told all their life.
Yeah. Did right.
That will instantly
And
give them conclusions straight away. They'll be able to weigh it up in a matter of a nanosecond. This isn't the person that I was told. I
yeah.
want to know this person. I want to know who my
Mm,
dad is. Yeah, that's what I mean. You'll get all that. You know, it's the time that's in between that's
yeah.
lost that you never get back, unfortunately. And
It, it,
that's the what I call the casualty of war, so to speak. The
yeah.
greatest casualty of war is that time that's taken away from you.
And when people actually start to understand that the system is there, it is engineered to break you apart, and it
Yep,
is so favoured, one-sided to the woman to exclude
yep,
guys. Um,
yep,
and yeah, when you really see what goes on and how the courts and the other support services how they react, this
yep.
is what they want. They want misery. Misery is
Yes.
money, and
Oh, it's
the more they
profitable
can
business,
break apart,
absolutely in every way.
yeah, the more they can break that family unit apart, the more they make. The more vulnerable you
More
become,
yes.
the more you're likely to get into alcohol, drugs, broken families, domestic disputes, the
Yep,
whole gambit. It's all about money, and
yep,
yeah, they don't give a flying about who you are. The more you
no,
can drag stuff through the courts, the more these blood-sucking leech lawyers make.
yep,
And yeah,
that's right.
and just understand, don't play the game. And
No,
if you one of the hardest things I've ever done in this life is turn around and go, I'm not playing this game, and go,
yep,
you know what, universe, look after my babies. I'll do whatever I can for them when they're
yep,
needed. When I'm needed,
yep,
give them the money, the support, but walk away.
yep,
And I'll
yep.
tell you, man, it hurt like hell. But to this day, the love I have has never waned at all, and never
No,
will.
never will. That's what I mean, fellas. That's the sort of, and I mean, you can hear it in Bob's voice. You heard it in my voice. You saw my tears before. I have no shame in showing it. This is the sort of love we hold. This is the sort of love that, and the in actual connection with your empathy and your inner self that most
Yeah,
men are taught not to actually have and own. To be able to show this with no fear, as we both have said, is one of the greatest gifts that we can give in showing, that we have that sense of self. You know, guys, don't let your egos destroy you. That's one
yeah,
thing I will say is that your egos and your
bloody
sense of
oath.
service and your over ambitiousness will be the very thing that will destroy you, because it's the isms that come with all of those things that will never be satisfied.
No, no, never.
So don't let your egos destroy you, because it destroyed me and it destroyed my marriage. And it's taken me a long time to forgive myself, to get myself back to where I am, to where I now love myself. Yes, I have those moments where I may get lonely and I might watch a silly movie on New Year's Eve, where I get to feel that tender moment for myself because I've got no one else to sit there and feel it with. But the fact is that I have gotten in contact with these things within myself. I've
Mhm.
allowed myself to feel and allowed themselves to flow. And if you don't, gentlemen out there, if you don't allow this feeling, this love, this empathy, this warmth, this nurturing that you are born with to flow through you, it will destroy not only everything that you are, but everything that you love and have in your life. Don't let it eat you up. Get in contact with your inner self. whatever you might have done in the past that you still hold guilt for today that might possibly come back, because everything is energy. It could destroy you. Forgive yourself. Let it go.
At
If you
some
have to
point,
divulge upon another. Sorry, go ahead, Bob. Please, yeah.
yeah, I was going to say, at some point, I'll actually walk people through a meditation that they can actually do to come back into themselves, actually find who they were, because a lot of times these are blockages, and
Yes.
actually go back in time within yourself, and you can actually heal that point and release that energy. And the more of this type of work that you do, the more you release, the better. And sometimes you actually need to go back lifetimes, people.
Yes.
And sometimes you can think everything's cool and groovy and life's going well, and suddenly there'll be something that'll come up and it'll kick you fair in the pants. And
Right in the head.
and you've got to deal with it.
Yep. Face
And
on too. There's no going around it. There's no going around it or through it or under it.
No,
it's there in your face. It's an obstacle.
Because the more you suppress it, it'll keep coming around in cycles.
Yep.
You think, oh yeah, cool, I'm clear through that. Whether it's 2-3 days down the line, 2-3 years down the line, next thing, bang,
that's right,
kick you in the bum again, and you just got to learn to deal with it, and work through it, and you'll get there, but one step at a time.
Overcome, exactly. I mean, I've said this in past videos that I've made by myself, and I'll say it with you here today, is that the whole acronym for the word fear, FEAR, you can either everything and run, or you can face everything and recover.
Rise. Yep.
Straight up. So FEAR, face everything and recover, or fuck everything and run. Okay, and if you fuck everything and run, don't blame anyone else, but it's the three fingers that are pointing back at you here, even though you got one pointing out, always. You got three pointing back at your people. You got no one else to blame but yourself. Okay, so really, at the end of the day, it always lays within you the options, the choices, and the conclusions. You can make an informed choice, but it's up to you. It's all up to you. You can choose to hold on to this negative stuff. You can choose to not be connected to your divine feminine self within the masculine, or be not connected to the divine masculine within the feminine. Because I mean, women, you have this power as much as we do. It's all about really coming together, getting rid of this stuff, getting rid of these mentalities, these mindsets, these silly ways of indoctrination that have kept you back from evolving to becoming, being. These are the very things that really at the end of the day will fundamentally set you free, emancipate yourself. It's just a matter of, for us right now, changing ourselves, one person, ourselves at this time, and helping another, and then helping them help another, and that person can pass on that information to another. You know what I mean? And by the time we've finished, the mindset of people will change in such a way that you will treat, act, and speak to another person in such a way that you would never want to be treated yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only, it's the only way forward, people. Couldn't agree more. Wow, mate, we've actually been going for a bit. We've got 2 hours. Well, we've been right up there tonight. It's been a bloody awesome night, hasn't it? I was going to say, mate, how are you for time? It's actually going on to about 8 o'clock over there, is it?
Just after 7:30 here, so yeah. So we were at 9:30 over there. I was
going to say, you've got a little bit of your night still ahead of you, so I was going to say I should let you go so you can spend it with your lady, mate, because I've probably taken enough of your time this evening. And it's going on to it's at 9:30 over here at the moment, yeah. So I was going to say, mate, it's actually been a beautiful night as such, just to be able to share with you in our experiences and just speak from our personal, if you will, our own personal journey and how we've used these experiences to integrate within ourselves now and be able to pass on and share with everyone. And I've got to say, Bob, thank you. Just our private conversations that we have ourselves on the side, but just bringing forth tonight what you've been able to share as well. And I'm hoping that everyone is able to take a piece from myself and Bob tonight especially you guys, yeah, and to use some of this stuff and actually open up, start to communicate with your lady. Don't bottle that shit up because it will destroy us. Take a piece of what we have to offer tonight and integrate that within yourselves little bit by little bit, because I'm sure Bob will agree is that without trying there is no doing.
Absolutely.
Okay, so yeah, you can only try. I mean, if it don't work for you, hey, go back to being football, meat pies, and holding cars. No problem. I'm not going to hold that against you. Okay, but it's just not my bag. Okay, but there is a lot of people that really should really try to take this information. Women as well, taking that divine masculine self within their feminine self. Integrate, become, be, flow, feel. Because a lot of women get through traumas as well.
Absolutely, and it's actually about finding you.
Two-way street. It's finding you, exactly right. And
find who you are, why you're here in this life. And it's taken me 48 years to find why I'm actually here now. And I still don't know the full side of it. I only know part of it. And
but we're getting there. We're getting there step by step.
I mean, Chris and the people out there, you are part of it. You are the reason why I'm here, why I'm talking
the reason why I'm here. Yeah, exactly.
And these conversations are going to get a lot more in depth.
Absolutely,
the tools and stuff that I've learned and have brought along and are in my past, I'm bringing forward to you, so you can unlock your potential. Because at the end of the day, it starts with one spark.
It does.
And one becomes two, three becomes four, and it's all it takes. And when people truly start to understand why they're here and what it's about, that is when you'll change the world.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with that. I couldn't agree more with that statement, Bob. Wow. I was going to say, that's a pretty good high note, mate. I don't think I could top that one. I don't think I can top that, mate, because that's absolutely a beautiful way to just finish the night, mate, because I was going to say, man, hey, that's, wow. My heart is filled. I feel really in gratitude just for that statement, mate. That really does make it all worthwhile, doesn't it?
It does.
Hearing you, mate.
It does.
Wow, mate.
Yeah.
Wow. Just enjoying that moment of gratitude right there. I was really enjoying that energy exchange, just that I could feel that with you just then. It was really cool. As you can see, I'm grinning.
Wow. Yeah, I'm very much grinning and quietly reflecting as well. And it's lovely,
mate, absolutely. And it's actually a very brotherly, loving feeling. Absolutely, an absolute brotherly love right there, unconditional. Yeah. That's what we're talking about, gents.
No judgment.
That's what we're talking about. No judgment, no shame, no guilt, just pure love, man. That's all it is. Yeah. Oh wow. Well, I gotta say, we'll leave it on that note tonight, mate, because I gotta say, man, I really can't top that any further. I gotta say, everything that we've touched base upon tonight, I'm really hoping that everyone's able to just take a piece from and be able to share it amongst themselves and just integrate to somewhat degree and put it into their life in some way, form, on a daily level. And just all I can say is just learn to be and learn to feel, learn to love, because that's this is how we're going to change the world together, by recognizing these feelings and actually being a part of, or allowing that to be a part of us. Because we've fought it for too long. We've kept it apart from us as such as men for too long. And it's now time to get that sense of empathy and divine feminine self within the man, so to speak, because you're falling short of what we really are capable of. And I'm only just starting to discover what I'm capable of through that sense of divine feminine self as well. So I can't say it enough, Bob. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And I'm actually hoping that you'll be able to join us again next Saturday night if possible. Would that be okay, mate?
I'm sure we can sort something out. And yeah,
awesome.
We'll
awesome,
see where it takes us. And yeah,
absolutely, because I mean, there's so many different avenues we can go down, and so many different topics and subject matter that we can cover. As you and I have both discussed privately on the side, we've got quite a lot of beauty and wonder stored up here that we can just love to share. I wish we could do it in a 10-hour video. God, would have a lot to say, but I think people get bored with a 10-hour video. We'd have to definitely break it up into intervals.
Most definitely.
But yeah, Charles, it's always a pleasure. It's always a wonder to have you and just be able to speak with you and have your friendship as well. And just thank you for just being you, Bob, and just joining all of Starseeds and Patriots of Down Under night. Yeah, thank you just for being here, mate. Always. It's always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure, Chris. And yeah, and thank you to all the people out there. You're the reason why we do what we do. And
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you, Bob. Well, mate, everyone, okay. I'm going to say good night for the time being. It's always a pleasure to have all of you with us, and I thank you for all being with us this evening. Please, if you can, just give us a bit of a thumbs up. It just kind of helps the video get out there. I really, at the end of the day, am like Carl. I don't really care about likes, subscribes, or hitting that notification bell, but at the end of the day, if you can just give it a like, because it gets around the algorithms of YouTube. It helps our videos get out to a wider audience base that are like-minded individuals. That's all I ask, because really, at the end of the day, we're all about doing this together. So the only way this information is getting out there is by you sharing it. So please, if you can just share the video, that's all that really matters to us, is sharing the information, sharing the love, and sharing one another. Okay, so in saying that, people, I'm going to sign out. Bob, good night to you, mate, my friend, and I can't wait to catch up with you next. I'm sure we'll catch up in the next couple of days. And, for everyone out there in Starseeds and Patriots of Down Under land, always remember, unlearn and discern, and stay safe, and we love you always, okay? Take care till then. Night, Bob.
Thank you, everyone.
Be good, mate.
Good night.
No worries.
Good night.
Could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. Looking for change, looking for pain, pulling a mob, pushing a train. I'll never stop, stick to a lane, pick up the pieces and go rearrange. I'll be the best above all the rest, put me to the test and expect nothing less. You check as I'm chess, what's happening next?
He got the venom, a tangible weapon, no coming in second. This life is a lesson. He got a new engine from pain, it's a blessing. New focus, no guessing, just bold and obsession. All in his possession, you got their attention. I'll leave an impression and take your redemption. Just kill no discretion. Your mind is a weapon. 11-11, it's time for progression.